I'm Sharon Lopez. I'm in charge of fraud prevention and payment methods here in Walmart, mainly for e-commerce, but also dealing with the strategy for omni-channel. I've been working here for 10 years and in Walmart and 15 years in the e-commerce sector. I have in mind three important phases in fighting fraud. The first is that I have a strategy team who help me in order to make decisions and struggling with the next steps of to fight fraudsters. They're actually the team that is working with the decision center tool. Second one, my operation team that is in charge of the review of the transactions. They determine if it's an authentic transaction or a fraud one. And my chargeback team.
Perfect. Thank you for giving us an introduction of yourself. I'm going to move over into a demo of Decision Center to showcase how the tool works itself and how Walmart uses it in their day-to-day operations. Before I do that, I just wanted, after post the demo, we'll also go into a short interview with Sharon as well, just so that you can understand how she uses the tool today. And some of the benefits that her team has seen using Decision Center. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up my screen. So here what you're seeing is the Decision Center interface. And what you're seeing here is how the policies worked here. For Decision Center, it is a tool that can be easily accessed across our other modules as well. So many of you may be already familiar with Insights and Console, and Decision Center is here as well. So it's very easy to navigate across our applications. Decision Center has two main components, policies, which is what you're seeing here today, right here, and then you have the lists. Lists are a way to aggregate like attributes and be able to use them as inputs into your policies. In a little bit, I'll show you what that looks like and how you would actually utilize lists within your policies. But let me just describe to you a little bit what you're seeing here today. On this screen, you're seeing our published policies, which means these are the policies that are live in your environment today and what would actually affect your traffic that is incoming. And so here we have two, which is one that has an action of accept and one of reject. I can talk to you a little bit about what these actions mean and everything. So I'll kind of dive into how to create a policy and what that looks like so that you get a better idea of how this tool works. So let's go ahead and create a policy. In this example, what I'm going to do is create a policy specific to coupon abuse. So how do we prevent a single user from using a specific coupon more than once or twice? So here we'll go ahead and put a name of the policy, which is limit the number of coupons per customer. Then you'll go ahead and put a description. This is definitely optional, but it's helpful when you're working with a team and want the team to understand why you created the policy, what the policy is doing. So here I'm just going to put in something about limiting it for 2 customers per household. So we'll go ahead and move on to the next step. And this is really where you would configure your policy and the conditions that your order should match on. So here you can go ahead and search, or you can browse the list that that we have here today. So you can kind of go through and browse through it, or you can go ahead and search. Since I already have an idea that I want to create something specific to coupon abuse, I'll go ahead and search for a discount code. And here we want to aggregate based on unique discount codes by the same email in the last 30 days. So I'll go ahead and click that one. And now that you've selected the variable, then you'll go ahead and select your threshold. So here you want to say, okay, if it's larger than, so if they've used this more than maybe twice, then you want to reject that customer. So as many of you know, it's not always, I guess it's easy to get around an email where you can create multiple emails and potentially get around this block. And so what we would then suggest is adding similar variables where you can see more variables here where you have here, this is by the same device. So being able to block based off the same device, and then also by the same delivery address. So this will be helpful for you to be able to be a little bit more comprehensive in the way that you block customers from abusing coupons beyond just the email itself. And of course, each one of these is configurable. So let's say you want to have a different threshold specific to devices or to delivery addresses, you can go ahead and change that as well. So everything within here is very configurable. You can kind of pick and choose what you want to do. And then you can go ahead and move to the next step, which is selecting the action. So when an order comes in and matches on these conditions, what action do you want to take? Here, you can go ahead and select. We have 3 main actions. The first one is accept, which allows you to kind of push the order through, hold, which would mean that you want to review the order yourself, and then you would maybe want to reject it. In this case, we want to go ahead and reject, and then we get ready to move to the next step. The next step here is an important step, and this is really to validate that you've configured your policy correctly. And so we have 2 different tools that I'll kind of showcase here, and that is condition matching. So one, you take orders that you've already sent to Signifyd and you would apply it here, and it will run a check against the policy conditions that you have to see if that order would have matched on those conditions. And then kind of on the flip side, you want to make sure that your policies are not overreaching and potentially affecting customers that you don't want it to. So that's what this module here is for, is the non-matching. And so you want to take orders that you would not have expected to affect be affected by the policy, and then you'll go ahead and put those in so that you can check it. So let's go ahead and see what that looks like. So you kind of come in here, you would paste in the IDs that you have, and you can click run. Now you can see that all of these cases matched on the policy, and then we can do the same for non-matching as well. So go ahead and come in here, paste in the orders again, click run, and then you'll see that the orders here have did not match, and so it is a positive result. And then once you've done that, you can go ahead and move forward to the next step. Okay. Within this next step, you can go ahead and your policy has been created. And in this case, I'm going to create another one so I can show you that list capability as well. But let's go ahead and do it, and we'll go ahead and put in the name. So this time I want to prevent against maybe a particular item from being purchased too many times. And so here it's going to be limit the number of cleaning items per order. Go ahead and move to the next step again. And this is where we'll configure our condition. So I'm going to search for the item ID, which is the equivalent of a product SKU. So if any of you aren't familiar with item ID, you can that'll be the equivalent here. And then you would select your item here. And here you'll see that we have an is in list operator that you can select. And what this will do is it will pull up any list that you created in that previous field. So here you can see that we have a couple item ID lists, and then also you could create a new one if you didn't have one created already. So I'm going to go ahead and select the cleaning supplies, and we'll go ahead and combine it with an additional variable as well. As you can see, being able to just identify that it's on a specific list isn't quite enough to narrow down your policy. So we're going to go ahead and add an additional condition for the maximum number of unique items in an order. And here I'm going to have it larger than 5. So not allowing them to purchase more than 5 in an item. And then you can go ahead and select your action. Again, we're going to use the same action that we did before. So we'll go ahead and select that. And then we'll move over to the next step. Here, we'll skip through this step since we already did this. And so I'll move over to the next one. And now we have 2 policies that were created, and now it's time to go ahead and publish them. So let's go ahead and go through publishing. Here you'll see the ability to first rank your policy. So the way that the policies work today is on a first match basis, which means that once it matches on one of the orders, it will stop there and take the action of that item. So it's really important to make sure that you're ranking your policies in a way where the most important policies are at the top, so that they will match on some of the ones in the top. So for example, let's say the coupon abuse is really important for us to block against, and even if it's above our VIP customers. So let's go ahead and pull that up. And you'll see that now it's up here. And then, so if an order comes in and matches, it'll hit this one before it goes to this one. So you can play around with the ranking. It's really easy to drag and drop. And once you're set with your ranking, you can move on to the simulation piece of it. This tool is really powerful. As before, you saw validation really just gives you the opportunity to test on a specific policy, but here it takes the combination of the policies that you have in the ranking that you've designated, and it runs it against historical orders to give you an estimated impact. So I'll go ahead and run the simulation. And these are the results that you'll see. So it takes the before section is what you have live today, and then it'll compare with after, which is these proposed changes that you're trying to make. And this will give you an idea of what the estimated impact would be kind of between the two different sets. And so here we'll give you total orders affected, broken down by the different actions that you saw in the policy creation field. Then we have this distribution, which gives you an idea of where your policy, like the differences between what's happening with the existing live policies and the new policy. So here you can see a chunk of unaffected orders we're now going into reject, and then also you can see that some of your accepted orders are now going to reject. So this is an easy way for you to understand what would happen if you actually publish those live. And then you have impact per policy. So this is to help you narrow down which policy is affecting the orders the most. So once you're happy with the results, you can go ahead and publish. If you're not happy, you can go back, re-rank, take things out, and then come back here and rerun it again. But since we're happy here, we're going to go ahead and publish. So I'm going to go ahead and publish, and your changes are live immediately. So I hope that I kind of sped through this a little bit as we were running a little short on time, but I hope you get a good understanding of what Decision Center would look like and how you would utilize Decision Center. So I'm going to go ahead and switch back and so that we can have Sharon on stage and we can walk through maybe some of the questions that I have prepared to kind of ask her. So the first question I'm going to ask is, what are some of the challenges that your team has been working through during the pandemic?
Yes, sure. And I think that what I'm going to answer, it's going to make sense for more than one. Currently, we are working at home. For Walmart, and especially for me, our people is really important. They are a key piece, and we need to keep them safe and healthy. It's the most important thing. And this gives us an extra challenge. We need to increase the security standards of our customers, or at least to maintain as we have it in the past. Adapt the way of working to the exponential growth that we are facing since 2020 and being more efficient and strategic. And in my personal case, I work at home, I'm a mother and a wife, and sometimes it drives me crazy.
Yeah, no, I think everyone can probably understand some of the personal challenges specific to working from home during COVID. So I think, yeah, definitely thank you for sharing that. I guess I'm going to switch gears a little bit and maybe focus a little bit more on Decision Center to give others the opportunity to understand how your team uses it, but maybe before we start about how the team uses it, really focusing on what type of challenges did Decision Center help you solve for, and what made your team consider Decision Center in the first place?
Yes, we can anticipate fraud attacks because, as you know, the hackers in these moments are really trying to hit us. So we can anticipate fraud attacks in a more sophisticated way. You know that phishing, sniffer, and in some vulnerable websites are dealing with this. We have to deal with this. And also another thing that Decision Center is helping us is to maintain and sometimes to increase the authorization rates and increase the hit rate, the conversion, and minimize the risk.
And with those challenges that you faced, how often are you using Decision Center? And can you talk to me a little bit about the process of how you actually create a policy and get that live on your site?
Yes, absolutely. We are actually heavy user for the tool. We analyze the suspicious information that we have, determine if we are having a risk attack or only some patterns. And if it's the case, we build the rules using the decision centers. It's really, really, really quick and easy to use the interface. And another thing that is very powerful, as you already present, is that you can run a simulation to see the impact in a certain period of time and compare the results. I think that it's really, really helpful for us.
Yeah, I think that's been one of the key features that everyone has really great feedback on. So great to hear that it's helpful for you as well. Okay,
Yeah.
and then specifically looking at Decision Center, can you tell me a little bit about the impact that you've seen on your business or even with your own kind of personal day-to-day on how that's kind of helped your team?
Yes, I think that here the self-service capabilities is really, really helpful for us. You have autonomy to put blacklists, to settle certain rules, to stop fraudsters. It's real-time nature, so you can stop the attacks immediately. You don't have to take a ticket and make some phone calls. You have it immediately. And it's a powerful tool also to clean risky transactions. I'm really convinced that the cleaner traffic you send to the bank, the better authorization rate you will have.
Perfect. I know we're running a little bit out of time for today's session, so I'll kind of wrap up with one last question, and that would be, what type of advice would you give to other e-commerce fraud teams struggling with fraud and abuse who are considering implementing a policy management technology?
Okay, first of all, I think that the best you can have is to know your customer, to know what he is buying to you, to know him very, very well. Second one, in the anti-fraud sector, I think that we don't have competitors. We need to build our network and share the experience that we have. And the fraud risk that we are facing and all the challenges that we have. Another thing, I think that your team, as I told, is everything. It's very important to hear them. It's very important to make decisions based on the information and data that they are giving to you. Another thing, take risk. I think that we have to take risk. And if we made some mistakes, correctly quickly. And finally, I think that all the things that you can implement will never be enough.
Yeah, we know that everything's quickly changing in this landscape, and you constantly have to adapt. I mean, I think that's part of the reason why Decision Center is so powerful, is that you can quickly put in those changes, and it's live immediately, right? You're not having to wait to see the impact of the changes. It's almost immediate.
Yes, definitely. Decision Center is a powerful tool, and it has helped us a lot to fight fraud. So thank you for that also.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, well, I know we're at time, so I want to just take a minute to thank Sharon for being here with us today and being able to kind of talk through her experience a little bit. And I want to thank everyone else for joining this session. And I know we didn't have time for questions, but if you have questions, feel free to reach out to your CSM or go ahead and connect with me on LinkedIn and we can continue the conversation there. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Selena, and thank you very much, Signifyd team.